Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the latest webinar in our series of webinars that we have co-hosted by NJM Insurance Group to cover topics that are of interest to entrepreneurs and our small business owners. The one we're having today is entitled Marketing on a Shoestring Budget in 2025, and hopefully it will cover effective strategies for you all to engage in social media advertising, email campaigns, content creation, and local search engine optimization. It'll also highlight emerging micro-influencers and how you can connect with your audience and really grow your brand in many different ways. And as always, we want to thank NJM Insurance for the outstanding partnership we've had with them over the years. They've been a great partner of ours, and they're also one of the greatest and finest corporate citizens in the state of New Jersey. And here to talk a little bit about NJM Insurance Group is Lauren Vecchio, the marketing manager for NJM Insurance, to say a few words about NJM. So, Lauren, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom, and good morning, everyone. NJM Insurance is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce's Small Business Webinar Series. Today's session is all about practical, cost-effective strategies to grow your brand, connect with your audience, and stay ahead of emerging marketing trends. A big thank you to the Chamber for the opportunity to join you this morning. Your advocacy and your leadership have been a voice for New Jersey businesses for more than a century, and we are so grateful for everything you do in Trenton and beyond. At NJM, supporting small businesses has been a part of who we are since 1913. We've been New Jersey's largest writer of workers' compensation insurance for more than 75 years, and we're also a leading provider of commercial auto insurance. For a long time, we focused solely on those two lines of business, and it did it with a strong commitment to service and safety. But as our customers' needs grew, so did we. Today, NJM offers a broader range of products to help businesses protect what matters most. And we've expanded our reach beyond New Jersey into Pennsylvania, New York, Delaware, Connecticut, and Maryland. Our NJM ProEdge Business Owners Policy offers a simple, strong solution for small businesses, while NJM ProPack is designed to meet the needs of mid-sized and larger businesses. Every NJM business policyholder gets the benefit of our nationally recognized claim service and access to certified loss prevention specialists, because we believe the best claim is the one that never happens. If a workplace injury does occur, our claims and medical services teams work closely with businesses to help control losses and support a safe recovery. At NJM, we take pride in providing the right coverage, delivering an exceptional customer experience, and sharing our success through dividends. We're here to help your business grow and grow right alongside you. If you're not already an NJM business customer, I invite you to learn more at njm.com. Thank you. I appreciate the time. And now I'll turn it back to Tom Bracken, who will be moderating today's discussion.
Lauren, thank you very much. And again, thank you, as always, to the NJM Insurance Group for the partnership we've had over the years, and we look forward to continuing that to provide good content to our business community. Before I introduce our panelists, I would just want to make sure that everybody knows if you have a question that you'd like answered by the panelists at the end of the presentations, please put that into our chat box, and we will try to get to as many questions as possible at the end of the time allotted for this webinar. So with that, I'm going to introduce our panelists, and I'm going to just introduce them by name and then ask each of them to briefly introduce themselves. We have Lacey Dean, the Director of Communications and Brand Management at Fulton Bank. We have Heather Shostack, Marketing Manager, New Jersey Society of CPAs. And we have Debra Rizzi, the President and Partner of Rizco. So Lacey, you want to kick it off?
Sure, thanks. So as you said, I'm the Director of Communications and Brand Management here at Fulton Bank. I oversee all internal and external communications, advertising, and creative product development. I have more than 18 years of experience in communications and public relations. And before Fulton, I did about 10 years in the nuclear industry, doing communications and corporate relations. And before that, I was at an ad agency.
Okay, thank you. Heather.
So at the New Jersey Society of CPAs, so we're a professional association with more than 12,000 CPAs and accountants across the state. We're a small organization, so as marketing manager, I wear many hats, from creating strategies to drive revenue and growth, to rolling up my sleeves and creating campaigns to promote the brand and the great things we do for our members. Before joining the NJCPA 7 years ago, I worked for both private business and associations for more than 20 years. All of them had lean resources and modest marketing budgets. So I'm excited to share some ideas that I've had success with. Hopefully you'll pick up some of them and try them yourselves.
Okay, thank you, Deb.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Debra Rizzi. I'm a president and partner at Rizco. We're a woman-owned, brand-led agency here in New Jersey, celebrating 25 years, and I'm also a proud board member of this chamber. I have almost 30 years of experience. Was with large agency Porter Novelli before starting my agency 25 years ago. And as far as Rizco is concerned, we work with businesses from startups to global organizations, building their brands, initiating impactful campaigns, and creating meaningful connections. So essentially, my goal is to be a champion for your brand.
Thank you all for your introductions. Let me kind of kick this off with a very basic question that maybe is on a lot of people's minds. New Jersey is a state where a lot of people have started businesses over the last couple of years, probably starting with COVID. And a lot of people have taken on an entrepreneurial mode and went out on their own. So for a small business just getting started, what is the first marketing channel that you would recommend for them to broadcast what they do and start to get some traction? Anybody want to kick it off?
I'll jump in. I would just say, the first thing would be to have a website. You really want to have an online presence so that folks can find you. If you can't afford a website, that's okay. You can do a Facebook company page or similar sort of listing, and then work with the search engines like Google to verify and claim and verify your business so that folks can find you. I think the online presence is really crucial to making sure that folks can find you.
Yeah, I agree with Lacey. Absolutely, a web presence is most important. And then after that, just making sure that you are active in social channels. The digital world is really how you get your word out about your company these days. So, that means social media. It's free, it's flexible, it's casual. It's the best place to focus your resources when they're especially lean. It'll help you grow awareness of your brand, as you know, but then it helps you to build trust in what you do. It helps you to form real connections with people and your potential customers. It's just all about showing how you meet the needs and interests of your audience, not just posting for the sake of posting. Just really following what's happening in your industry and demonstrating what you bring to the table. Informing people, educating people, and even being entertaining. A lot of popular content today has no other purpose but just to entertain. And it's okay. It puts your brand in a positive light. And, it's a chance to show your personality of your brand.
I would definitely agree with both Lacey and Heather. You're not going to be surprised by my answer on this. I'm always going to say, before we can choose our channel, we need to understand our brand. So I always encourage businesses to treat their business like baking sourdough bread, which is trending right now. Everybody's testing that recipe, finding the perfect flavor. What's the crunch? What is that logo or design that they're going to put on the top? How do you package it? Who are you going to sell it to, and what's that price point? So if you go through that same process for your own business, you're going to know exactly who your audience is, where you should be selling it, and how you're going to stand out and be able to activate that marketing plan with confidence.
So our topic is entitled Marketing on a Shoestring Budget. What does it cost to begin the process in the way you've all just outlined?
Yeah, well, it really depends on how you want to go about it. I mean, there are self-service website development platforms online that you can use that are relatively inexpensive. You need to have a URL, you need to actually create the website, but you can spend as much as you want on the development of a website. So what's important is, as Deborah mentioned, to really understand your brand and your messaging, understand your audience, and develop your website in a way that you're providing the information that folks need to be able to find you and to understand what you're offering. But really, you could do it yourself. It is possible. You just have to buy your URL and then use a website development platform to kind of plug and play and create your website. But you can spend a lot of money. There are agencies, local agencies that will help you design and develop your website for you. So it really depends on how much money you have to spend.
Okay. Heather?
I would say just getting out there and positioning yourself as a problem solver and an expert, again, in social media. I mean, the sales and revenue will follow when you position yourself as an expert. Whether you're selling landscaping services and, you want to bring to light little known facts about improving your soil, improving your vegetation, or, you're a cybersecurity company and there's phishing schemes, new ones weekly, and you're on top of it and you're teaching your audience ways to prevent falling victim to them. People are going to remember you as the problem solver and the experts. When the need arises, you're going to be their go-to person. So it's just about getting that message out. Doesn't necessarily have to be on your website. It's about partnering with people that can help you spread that message.
Yep.
As far as brand is concerned, the first thing, we talk about being on a shoestring budget. The first question that always comes up from our clients is, okay, how should I be budgeting? And, usually that guideline is looking at 7 to 12%, in tough economies, you're usually going on the lower end, of gross revenue, and then trying to apply 55% of that to digital. When you're looking at brand, yes, you can ask for an agency to help you. We can tap into our universities. New Jersey is filled with resources at the university level where you can ask for the help of students to do research on your behalf. And then last is, if you really don't know, we always say that a competitive landscape is the best way to start. Look at your competitors, see what they're doing, what channels they're communicating in, and what strategies they have in place to at least give you a baseline so that you can do that in a DIY format so that you can start building your plan and strategy from there.
So drill down a little bit on the involvement with universities. Well, how does that work?
Absolutely. We have so many resources, and it's not just the university, it's also at the high school level. So you have pop-up business academies that are in the high school level. We have a communications high school specifically in Wall that has full service opportunities. And then from the university level, it's not always just the design and marketing sides. You have business, your business channels. We were at Montclair, Montclair State University yesterday and talking about how the World Cup is coming here and how they're positioning their student body to be engaged in that. A lot of our students need to have either mentorships or internships, and they are looking to align with those businesses, not only to get that real life quality experience, but they are the future of what's going to happen in this state. They are our future thought leaders. So even as business owners, we like to surround ourselves with people that are smarter than ourselves. There's a huge untapped richness and audience with the next generation of leaders that are coming out of our universities. And a lot of them, it's a requirement that they are unpaid and you get to collaborate with them on a high level.
So when a business first comes out with their initial website announcement of the business, how detailed should that message be? I mean, I think there's a danger of over-promising, but there's also a danger of underwhelming, which would not get anybody's attention. So somewhere between underwhelming and over-promising is the right message. What does that look like?
Yeah, I can jump in. I would just say that I think it's important to position your business properly, and really, as I think Heather alluded to earlier, you want to be seen as an expert. You want to be seen as a thought leader. So if I was going to err on either side, I would probably err on being the side of positioning myself as the expert in the industry, even if I was a new business. I would position myself as, I have years of experience that have led me to this particular spot, and I believe I'm the best person to help you, right, with whatever your business strategy is. I don't know that you could really overdo that on a website. And then as far as I think you mentioned, coming out with a sort of an announcement of your business, there are certain ways that you can do that for free through public relations. You can certainly announce that you have a new business. You could work with your local chamber or other local organizations to celebrate that you're opening a new business. If you have a storefront, you could do a ribbon cutting. So there are great ways to draw attention to your business, especially when you're first starting.
Heather or Deb, any comment on that?
Caution against being all things to all people. It's about really drilling down into, one or two things that are really going to drive the interest of people. You have to fulfill a need. So just, really focus on the need you're trying to fulfill. The brand awareness that will come, it will come after you show how you are solving a really important need. And just keep that in mind throughout everything as you're starting out.
And I would add to that too is cleanliness. Less is more. Stay true to your brand, what the value is, and then feed that site along the way. A lot of times we build a site and then we don't feed it on the back end. Similar to our bodies, we need food and a car needs gas. Your website needs that as well. So that's where, simple things like installing Yoast in the back end of a website. So it helps with SEO, and then activating your blog. Making sure that at least once a month you have a piece of content, of thought leadership content going on there and fueling it so it helps with your SEO. But back to what Lacey and Heather were saying, position yourself in a light of strength as a leader, but also less is more, and make sure that there's brand consistency across the way, because that provides confidence.
So when you're first setting up this website, obviously, as you all said, you talk about your experience, the fact that you're an expert in whatever topic you're going to cover. Do you need to state the issue that you're solving for? Or is that something that people can self-direct themselves to and equate to by looking at your area of expertise?
It's a really good question, and I see it so many times both ways, and I definitely have a recommendation on what's most effective. It's not about showing the benefits. Again, it's not about showing all the things that your product does or what you can do. It's about the end result. So all of your messaging, all of your sales pitches should really be about the end result that your customers, your students, your stakeholders will benefit from. Put yourself in their shoes. What do they want? It's not about what you provide, it's what they gain.
Okay. Lacey or Deb?
Yeah, I would agree with what Heather said. I think it's important to put yourself in your customer's shoes when you're developing your website. What are they searching for, right? What's going to drive them to Google and search for your services, right? And then what do they get out of it? You always want to keep that in mind when you're developing your content.
Yep, 100%. It's, that question of what problem are you trying to solve, and then going backwards into what answer you're going to get and the end result, as Heather was saying, and then work backwards into the keyword research of how people are searching online. And remember too, it's about the conversations, because a lot of times they're doing voice search as well. So it's two different ways of regular online search and then voice search, and including that content into your site.
So once companies create the website and start to market themselves, one of the things that I've always found very successful in New Jersey is face-to-face networking. That's what New Jersey's all about, and so what it's been always about. So once you have some product you're promoting on a website, do you recommend heavy involvement in the face-to-face networking, or do you just let the website and people reaching out to you suffice?
Oh, Heather, you have to leave with this one. You're an association.
Yeah, of course it's critical. It's very critical to build those real relationships. I mean, that's your sales force. When you have people who are happy, they are going to spread the word. So it's all, referrals for, a consumer product or a business service is where you're going to find the most effective strategy. So getting out there, joining your associations in your community, your state, national associations even, and just being involved in the community. Deborah, you're a perfect example of that. I'm sure you have lots of examples because you're always out there and networking. Even if you're just engaging with your local community, you're trying to build your brand, so you have a fundraiser within your local community. What better way to help your community feel good and help shine a light on your new business.
Okay. Lacey or Deb, any further comment on that?
I'll jump in on the association aspect, because I've experienced already what Heather has done with NJCPA, and how that, they just gave $190,000 worth of scholarships to students. So I have to do a shout out on that. The associations and the chambers play a critical role in two different ways. First of all, it's building your network, it's advocacy, and it's education. And we always, when we're working with clients, we welcome them to look at two different angles. You have the association that is within your industry, so you're amongst peers, but we also try to push them into an area where it's more diversified. And of course, the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce is an example of that. It's a huge conglomerate where you're touching multiple different industries and verticals. The biggest part of that, though, is a lot of times people will join, but then they don't activate. So number one is you have to show up. Number two is having that conversation with those organizations about what marketing, what are the marketing benefits that they can take advantage of. And sometimes it's even just a conversation. Of course, the first question is, can I get a list? But sometimes there are packages that might not fit your business. And it's asking, can I do a sponsored email, or can we do social posts, and will you repost my content? Or is there a social page just for members so that I can engage on a higher level? And then also too, those organizations typically are putting your information into the directory. So that is helping. They have a higher ranking as far as engagement and SEO already, so that when your brand is affiliated with them, it helps with bubbling you up on a higher level. The only other thing I would add too is engagement with nonprofits, and our nonprofits across the state and even nationally are in a very critical situation because of funding. So as owners of businesses, even the small things like volunteering for a day or aligning with a cause that's important to you, they typically are then reposting content or mentioning you in an email blast. And you get to do the same thing in your email marketing, is showcasing that you've given back to the community. So it's finding those relationships, and those relationships that already have a larger draw, and aligning yourself and seeing how you can get your brand out there on a higher basis without spending a lot of money.
Yeah, I've always found, Deb, that companies that are successful are characterized as not only companies that provide good service and content to their clients, but also give back. The give back aspect in New Jersey, that philanthropic piece, whether it's dollars or sweat equity or whatever it is, plays well to the audience. And I think that's a very good point, that giving back should be part of the strategy of any company.
Lacey, do you add, because I want to pivot, because typically from a banking perspective, you're really engaged in your communities as well.
Oh yeah, we at Fulton, we have what's called the Fulton Forward program, and we have 4 pillars that we align around, like job training and workforce development, home ownership, affordability, and so on. So we're very involved in the community. We have our own foundation. Our bankers, our employees love to go out and volunteer for things. We find it to be rewarding, not only from the business standpoint, as Tom was saying, there's definitely an ROI there. But also from an employee morale standpoint, people like to, go volunteer at the food bank, or go, in our case, we go to schools a lot and we teach about financial literacy. So it's important from both angles. You develop the networking, the business relationship, the marketing, but then you also are helping your employees with morale, and everyone just feels better about coming to work because you're contributing to the community. And I would say, as you look at your corporate relations programming, it's important that you align with what your business does. Like you should set up, some kind of guardrails or guidelines around what you're going to support and what you're not going to support. And those should really align with your business strategy. So for instance, at Fulton Bank, we are very interested in home ownership and affordability because we have a mortgage company, and those two things go hand in hand, right? We're very interested in financial literacy for students because eventually those students become customers, right? So you want to make sure that your corporate relations strategy aligns with what you do and what you offer to the community. I think that's important because that's how you're going to get really the most out of the time and money that you're spending in corporate relations, because it is challenging, to go out there and network. It's hard to find the time to volunteer. I'm sure we have some introverts on the call. It's tough, but it's important, and you need to make time for it. So make sure your time is spent as wisely as possible.
When I was in the banking business, as simplistic as this sounds, one of the most successful marketing tools we always used was we went into the communities where we had branches, and we provided the T-shirts for the T-ball group, because children, once they start with T-ball, which is usually their first involvement in sports, they never want to take those shirts off.
It's off.
And the name of the bank was these children were walking around the streets. It just gave us great name recognition. So just simple things like that really go a long way. You don't have to be overly sophisticated sometimes, because the more simplistic you are, sometimes the more successful you are. So there are many creative ways to go about marketing today. There's a wide variety of different venues and vehicles. How do you pick the right one for your company? Is it industry specific? Is it the message you're trying to give? How do you pick the right channels to market through?
Yeah. Following where your audience is. It's as simple as that. You want to be relevant, absolutely. If you're selling Coca-Cola, you're not going to be selling your product necessarily at through a legal association. I mean, you want to see where your customers are, and then you also want to follow, have an eye on your competition, making sure that you are all playing in the sandbox together. And as far as like very specific vehicles, digital channels, there's certainly channels that are, more effective for others than others, when it comes to purchasing, and purchase power. Right now, Facebook is the leading digital platform, for, sales and driving sales. But, above that, YouTube has more engagement. It's more effective because it's used by all demographics. People are on YouTube more than any other digital channel, even more than TV watching. And advertising on YouTube, it might not be cost effective, but just being present on YouTube, developing content around your business, whether it's content that you developed yourself, whether it's user-generated content that you are showing to make your brand more popular, that can be really powerful. I mean, also, YouTube is the second most effective search engine out there. So when you have the right keywords in your title and your tags of your YouTube videos, it's really strong in Google searches. And so people will find your videos. When you post those videos on your website, it's even more effective when you ask partnering associations, partnering organizations to post your content if they're of an informational format, especially, even more effective. So just keep building on all the different ways to get your content out there, and make sure to incorporate happy clients, happy students, happy whatever stakeholders into your content.
Okay, Lacey or Deb, any comment on that?
I would just touch on something that Heather said, is really around understanding where your audience is. I think that is something that's easy. It's easy for us to say, but it is hard to do. And people spend an awful lot of money to try to figure out where their audience is. And there's a very simple way to go about understanding that. I think, and that's what we call personas in the marketing industry, or customer profiles. And what you want to do is think about your customers, their needs, and their buying habits. So you start with, who are my customers? Start with simple demographic things like who's going to buy my product or service? What age are they? What gender are they? What's that target market? Are they young women? Are they old men? It all depends on your product or service, right? Try to figure out, who those customers are by looking at your current customer base, looking at competitors, doing a little bit of research on who's most likely to buy this product, and then look at their needs. What problems are they trying to solve when they are coming to your business or type of business? Are they hungry and they just want a snack? Do they blow a tire on the side of the road and now they need help? Understanding what is their motivation for finding you and getting to conversion, right? Because that's going to be key to really understanding your customer. And then buying habits, how do they make that conversion? It's really important to understand what goes into that buying decision. If you're selling cupcakes, it might be very simple. I'm hungry and there's a cupcake shop, but if you are a high-end electronics company, then maybe your customer has to do a lot of research, and maybe they're comparing costs and they're comparing resolutions and things like that. So you really want to understand who those customers are, their needs, their buying habits, and you can set up, these kind of profiles where you sort of say, okay, this is Jane and this is Joe, and here's what they're looking at, and here's how they differ. And then what you want to do is platform research or channel research. You really want to understand, okay, if my key audience is young women, where do the young women hang out online? Where are they in the marketplace? You know, and to Heather's point, different social media channels really do have different audiences. So you'll find that X, or it used to be called Twitter, you know, they have a smaller user base than Facebook, but the user base is comprised of younger, trend savvy, primarily millennials, right? So if you're trying to reach millennials, you want to be there. But if you're trying to reach Gen Z, then you might want to be on TikTok. And so it's important to really understand your audience and where they are. And I would say that the other consideration here is around content development. You know, it's easy to say, well, you should be everywhere because your audience might be everywhere, but content development to be done right, you know, correctly, you really have to concentrate on it. You really have to make time for it. You want to make sure it's engaging. You want to make sure it's done right for the channel. You know, there are differences if you're posting on Instagram versus Facebook. You know, there's the content that you need is different. You know, the way you shoot a video for YouTube is different from Instagram, right? So it's really important to understand where they are and focus your efforts to exactly where your audience is, and really, you know, hone in on that, because you're a business owner, you don't have a ton of time, right? You need to really focus your efforts.
Mm-hmm. And to round that out, once you have your persona, the goal is you need to touch them in multiple different touch points. And you typically, you know, in the past, it was 6 to 8 touch points. Now it's gotten even higher because we have so much information coming our way. So once you've identified where those individuals are, you want to make sure that you're touching them in multiple aspects, whether that is email, through social. They are seeing a billboard, you're connecting with them online. They see you at an event through an association. That's where I would say email is still a lifeline where you should be touching your audience at least once a month with critical contact, some content, excuse me, and also using those lists in different ways. We don't realize how much information is embedded into an email address. And so therefore you can activate those email addresses through PPC, paid campaigns, where you can do lookalikes. So you can segment, all right, let me see who my top 10 customers are from last year. Let me take their email addresses and then create lookalike campaigns either through social or through Google. To note on 2 other things that Heather mentioned, Facebook definitely, especially restaurants that can't afford a website. Typically, Facebook is their first impression, and it does rank. It's a very easy way, number one, to get your message out there, but also the PPC campaigns through Meta are strong. And then 2 is YouTube. You know, now that Google owns YouTube, they work together in SEO. So the more video content that bubbles up, that winds up helping with your SEO strategy as well.
So Deb, you mentioned email, and email marketing to me seems like basic old school kind of marketing. But is there a low cost or free tool that can help small businesses develop an effective email list that can be used?
So you can't just take a like for instance, if you're engaging with somebody in an association or chamber and they hand you a list, you can't just run with that and do HTML emails. That's against the rules. Organic development in your sales process, especially if you're using LinkedIn to connect with somebody, making it part of your sales process to ask, okay, can I add you to my distribution list, and getting them to say yes to that. Number 2, of course, in your website is building in that sign up form. As far as usage is concerned, we still like MailChimp and Klaviyo. MailChimp gives us more flexibility as far as design is concerned. Shocker coming from a design agency. And it is free for constituents who have 500 end users or less. So that's valuable. And my last tip before handing it over for Heather and Lacey to build upon is just make sure that you are actually scrubbing your list 2 times a year. You're actively trying to get a successful open rate, which can be anywhere from 15 to 25%, depending upon your industry. So let's say it's an average of 20. You want to make sure that what you're putting out there is actual quality. So make sure that you're doing your housekeeping at least 2 times a year. And I'm going to turn that over to Heather and Lacey to build upon.
Yeah, I would just touch on something that Deborah spoke about. It's called canned spam law. So it means that you can't just blast emails out to whoever you want, right? You have to scrub the list. You have to make sure that these people aren't on like a do not email list. And that is hard for a small up and coming business on a shoestring budget. So what you want to do is look for tools online that have that compliance feature built in. So like MailChimp's a good one. Constant Contact is another good one. But you really want to look for those tools that specifically call out, how they're going to help you comply with the laws. You always want to have an unsubscribed or opt out link at the bottom of your emails. Something that integrates with your website so that you can collect those emails online. And then you can even take it one step further and use what's called an email optimizer. One of them is Mail Meteor. And what is it'll review your content for language that might trigger your email to go to the recipient's spam folder. So if you're spending all this time on your content, you're buying email lists, you're getting email lists, you don't want your email to end up in somebody's spam folder, right? Like that completely defeats the purpose. So as you're writing your content, you run it through one of these programs online, and it'll tell you like these words are gonna send you a spam, right? So that's another way, a very low cost tool to just help you optimize that content.
Yeah, such an important thing to bring up, both Lacey and Deb, the compliance of it all. It's super important. You definitely don't want to have a bad reputation with spam and all of that. But on the flip side, I will say that when you follow all the compliance, it is really great when you can get lists, when you partner with a local association or your local library and you're presenting, you are again running some sort of charitable event, and the people you sign up have agreed to receive your emails. I mean, these are people you've already connected with. This isn't like a cold list that you've bought somewhere and people have no idea who you are. There's that initial connection. So I would consider these people, pretty warm leads, people that you can continue to build a relationship with. So I definitely think it is worth pursuing those types of lists over paid lists, and again, following the compliance.
So let's say a company has selected the tools that they're going to use, has created a website, is out marketing their expertise in certain areas, but it's just not getting any traction. How does that organization or that company pivot to try to get traction in a different direction without having people look at their efforts as being negative, trying to pivot to say, I'm expanding, but not admitting defeat? How do you pivot in a way that tries to redirect your organization?
I'm going to say it's all about the analytics. And it's interesting because, especially as an agency, when somebody's vetting us to bring us on board, it's okay, well, what kind of metrics are we going to see? What kind of ROI? And we're constantly looking at what we are producing and the impact that it has. So there's never a zero fail. There's always something that moves. It's a matter of taking the tools that you have already and making sure that you're looking at them. And it's not a set it and forget it. It is, okay, as Lacey said, it's okay, let's figure out who that ideal customer is. And then what Heather is recommending, as far as, social and content, setting up those channels and then testing them. Sometimes too, this is a standard practice, is doing A/B testing, especially when you're doing some kind of digital advertising. You're doing two different sets of creatives, deploying it, seeing which one is working better, and then turning that off. So it's a matter of deploying it, not forgetting it, looking at the analytics to see what's working, and making sure that you're actually pivoting based upon what you're seeing that you're getting traction on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would say pivoting.
Good, Lacey.
I would just say that, pivoting isn't necessarily an admission of defeat, right? Like marketing is all about testing and learning, experimenting with what works, optimizing what works, dropping what doesn't. Big brands in the marketplace start social media accounts, and then over time, they peter out and they go somewhere else, or they keep it minimal and they focus their efforts somewhere else. It happens all the time. So I wouldn't necessarily feel like, oh, I'm not gaining traction, I failed. It's more, I just need to try something else, and I need to try a new channel, try optimizing the channels that you have, and go from there.
So keep your pride up that you are an expert and you have something to offer, and try to find a different channel to get more awareness, that kind of a thing. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And I would say, there are people who, we spend our whole lives doing marketing, right? So it's not something you're going to learn overnight. It's something you're going to have to experiment with. And even the best marketers have to experiment with what works with customers and what doesn't. So don't feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
So we have about 10 minutes left. And I think, Kevin, it looks like we've had a bunch of comments in the chat room. Any questions for the group?
Yeah, there's a question about artificial intelligence tools in marketing. Is there any cost to using them, and how do you use them? What can you use them for?
Yeah, so I'll jump in. AI is a critical tool that we're using in marketing. The key to using AI is understanding that it's there to be more of like your brainstorming buddy, right? You don't necessarily want AI to write all your content for you, because any competitor can go out and do the exact same thing and come up with the exact same article. So what you want to do is differentiate yourself. So use AI to help you develop topics. What is the content? That is sometimes the hardest thing about content, is trying to figure out what to talk about, what to write about, right? So use AI to brainstorm topics, to come up with outlines to your content, even to write your first draft of your content. But just know that what's really important is to put your stamp on that content. Think of it like AI is kind of a partner, but you don't want to plagiarize your partner. You want to put your mark on your content, because that's what's going to differentiate you in the marketplace. It's going to differentiate you in search results. So use it as a tool. It's free. It's great to experiment with, but don't let that be the be all end all of your content.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say if you, it's free, absolutely, but it's absolutely worth a paid subscription to Chat 4.0, because it's going to learn from the prompts that you put in. It's going to learn your business. It's going to learn your tone, your brand, unlike the free version. So that's ultimately what you want to do when you have this buddy, right? You want the buddy to learn about you, and to give you the type of responses that reflect your brand and your personality. And what's more is, I use it often when segmenting campaigns, right? It helps me to develop personas. For example, my expertise is in business-to-business marketing. This past year, we partnered with Junior Achievement. We went into middle schools and had to think of a fun way to teach middle school students about the basics of accounting, which I'm sure most could care less about accounting. They don't even know what accounting is. So I really had to find a way to engage with this audience and interest them. So I turned to ChatGPT and I said, look, I want to develop an educational game, teach them about financial literacy. The specific age group is, 11 to 14-year-olds. Include the pop culture, include the terminology that they use, help me develop personas so that I can in turn develop this game for them. And not only did it spit out like really helpful ideas, but I developed a game. I tested it on my own middle school age children, and they're like, yeah, this is like spot on. Like my friends would totally be interested in this. So again, it's a great way to develop personas for your audience. And it's a great data tool as well. When you have a lot of data that you want to summarize really quickly, it's great for that. It'll really help improve your marketing campaigns. And then, one caution is a lot of these AI tools, they have flaws, and you can't always trust the results. So yes, it's a brainstorming tool. No, it's not factual, and it's always good to have an expert judge the credibility of the results.
I'm going to be honest, it's my best friend. It's open every single day. It has made me a better leader, a more professional communicator. We and to the point, it has not replaced our people. It does not replace it, and it should not replace people. And we are finding institutions that have tighter budgets, they're expecting between Canva and ChatGPT, they can replace most of their marketing team and be able to survive. And you can never replace the human element and the personality and the listening and learning that comes from the human. And you talk about brand and brand consistency and brand voice. So what is the point of doing that and being different if everything is going to be generalized by AI? But it does get us to that first draft. We have another term, the poopy first draft. It's okay. We use that in AI to get us there and create the efficiencies and then layer on our intelligence and the brand voice for the client. I use Scribble as well to transcribe all of my calls with my clients. So that allows me to brainstorm off of that, create really strong summaries that typically would have taken me an hour and a half. I'm now doing that in 15 minutes, and then going straight into brainstorming of, okay, who are other competitors in the marketplace and what are their taglines, and asking those key research questions, which will help me get to a plan faster. So it's about efficiencies in the first draft, but always going back to your brand voice, and making it professional so that it matches you.
Real quick question. We're really running out of time. Someone said they need a graphic designer, like a low-cost graphic designer. Are there any tools out there or ways to find, people that can help you with those type of things, or maybe web development that's real cheap? And you mentioned universities. Someone asked Deb, how do you get in contact with these universities? Maybe students can help provide the graphic design. So anyway, if you could sort of answer that question, it was multi-parts there, but.
No problem. You find that a lot of people are using Canva. That provides really strong baseline user-friendly templates that a lot of companies are using out of the gate. Please feel free to put my email address in the chat. Currently, we're using Kane University has a complete design center. They align with small businesses. Also, Monmouth University, in their business division, the students are required to do a mentorship that's hundreds of hours. Also, I've had interns from Georgian Court. I currently have an intern from Kane University. The communications high school in Wall is absolutely fantastic. I've had students that are juniors and seniors there that are equivalent of a junior and senior coming out of college, because they actually they teach them the technical tools in the high school phase versus them even in going to college. So there are multiple resources across the state, and I'm happy to be a conduit for that as needed.
Okay, and then one last quick question. We only have like 2 minutes left, and we have to go back to Tom. If there was one or two social media channels you need to be on, which should they be? Because someone was asking, you know, they want to know where the most important place would be. Heather, you answer that one.
Yeah, I think it has to depend on the nature of your business. So like I said, like YouTube is for all businesses, all demographics. So that would be number one. If you're more B2B, I would say LinkedIn, absolutely. If you are B2C, I would say Facebook.
Okay.
But
And with
again,
that,
yeah.
we'll have to go to Tom because we're running out of time here.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Lacey and Heather and Deb for very great overview of marketing on a shoestring budget. I mean, marketing is the key to success. There's no question about it. And there's different forms it takes, different channels. And I think you've all highlighted many of the ones that can help people be successful. But I have to go back to what in my career has been the most successful marketing tool, which is face-to-face networking. And that is coming back. That had a hiatus with COVID. Now these big networking events are happening. People want to meet and greet, and it's become a very effective tool. And I would encourage people to take advantage of that. In that context, we have on June the 12th in Trenton at the State Museum our annual State Chamber open house. There will be between 300 and 500 people there. All different disciplines, from government, elected officials, businesses, not-for-profits, higher educational field. Great place to come and market. I would highly recommend you look at our website and come to that, because it is a great way to market yourself. So many different tools, but networking in person is tried and true and probably will never fade away. So thank you all very much for your involvement today. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to the NJM Insurance Group. And we will have another webinar soon, and we will announce that. And hopefully you will be able to benefit from that topic also. So have a great day. Thank you again, and enjoy the warm weather.